All things considered, one is the most normal of the sisters. I mean all things, including the incest bit you probably don't remember from the main game. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Throughout the game, one seems to be the main villain. She looks like a leader of the sisters during the opening chapter, and it is her dragon that kills Mikhail. Later, she waits for Zero to come for her back in the cathedral city, and has a throne to sit on in the middle of an empty hall. The only thing she lacks is a cat on her lap, and for that chair to turn around when Zero approaches. She is cold, calculating, and feels like a polar opposite of our dear Loudmouth. She's even reading a book. This truly sets her apart from Zero.
What you reading? Ah, Zero.
One seems to be the only sister who truly knows what is going on. Even though she hasn't found the answer to what an intoner is, she is aware they must die if the world is supposed to survive. That's the reason why she has created Brother One, to kill Zero if one fails, or to kill her if she conquers Zero. She's aware that the flower that has created all of them, that keeps them alive, won't let any of them commit suicide. She has done her math, and the results don't make her happy. Let's rewind a little. After all, One has a little bit of a backstory that has brought her to the place she ends up in. Before the flower placed its roots in Zero, she had wreaked havoc all over the land. She stole money and killed everyone she encountered, being an adult or a child. She even broke into a monastery and killed all of the nuns. In the end, she got caught and was brought to justice. She was chained in the middle of a city square, right next to a group of other convicts. It was a group responsible for a rebellion, a failed rebellion. And the lords decided to play a game. Whoever dies last gets to be burned at the stake. Especially one girl had caught Zero's attention. The supposed leader of the group, tortured just like the rest of them with her eyes gouged out, spoke to Zero. There weren't many words because soon the leader was dead, her bruised body finally giving up. She was the last one of her group to die. She had fought for the safety of the people. She saw the injustice and stood up against it. It is no surprise that her face was burned into Zero's mind, and when the flower did come, One inherited it. Not only it, but also the desire to change the world for the better. This seems to be the main reason why One wants to help people in Midgar, why she and her sisters stage another rebellion. This one's successful. We all have reasons for our actions. Usually our upbringing is to blame. People rely on the schemas they have learned during their life. It is quite simple, like teaching an animal. Do this and it brings you a reward. Do that and it brings punishment upon you. There are also more complicated schemes, which in psychology stands for a framework representing some aspect of the world, or a system of organizing and perceiving new information. Seeing a specific group of people as a threat that may result in a punishment if you interact with them. You can learn those more complicated schemes by just listening to your parents. Don't play with those kids, their parents are bad, or no wonder that kid took something from you, he is. Insert a race or a group here. I have given examples of learning through fear here, and that's because we learn to fear much quicker than we learn to accept. This mechanism did keep us alive, so far, and yet there are people who are willing to do good, to risk their lives for others even though they know they might be punished. Psychology doesn't exactly know why they decide to risk everything. After all, people aren't perfect computer machines that rely on mathematics and, by weighing pros and cons, make the best decisions. We can make some good guesses about those revolutionary heroes. They need support, usually found in their own families. They are mostly open-minded and well-read. Or they just might be in the right place at the right time. So yeah, so much for guessing.
I don't quite understand.
What's that?
Why must we fight in order to make a peaceful world?
If you've a better idea, I'm all ears. I'm not a god, you know. I don't have all the answers.
Drakengard 3 presents us with heroes who don't exactly know why they are doing what they are doing. They fight the evil lords because it is just. But once there is a chance of getting some answers, Gars postpone this fight for justice. They stop conquering the lands after hearing about knowledge hidden in Cathedral City. And it does them some good. They do grow during this journey, like literally. Through magic, one accelerates their growth, so their size will match their powers. It supposedly should make controlling them easier, but even though they almost die while trying to get through a magic door, that may or may not hide behind it any information about the Interners, they still end up with nothing. Maybe not nothing. During this fight with the guardian of those magic doors, Gabriella decides to use her last wish to kill him, as his powers exceed these of dragons. This guardian does come from the old world and has some amazing powers. Back to the last wish. Gabriella accepts becoming a beast, just so she can help one. They haven't known each other for long at this point, but their time together, their banter and the times they saved each other's skin is enough. And there is no going back from becoming a beast. One isn't too happy about it. So she develops a plan. She merges her soul with Gabriella. It makes one a little beastly herself, but through sheer determination, she sacrifices her adulthood to keep herself from being overcome by this power. And as the lords not previously killed by the girls have also gathered in the Cathedral City, they die as the collateral damage. This means the Intoners 5, the world 0. Finally, the girls can rule over Midgar. And yet one isn't satisfied, as they still know nothing about what the Intoners are. And they still don't know the purpose of their existence.
What do you need to do for you, sister?
First, we defeat the cruel lords who rule these lands.
And once we've defeated them,
Then the people suffering under their reign will be saved.
and once they're saved,
Then we'll find a reason to live.
One knows her sisters well. She knows that 5 is greedy, that 4 breaks under pressure, that 3 is too obsessed to take care of her land, and 2 is just too naively good. She governs them like chess pieces. She only relies on their physical strength to help her bring the lords to justice. She keeps her thoughts to herself, only sharing some of them with Gabriella. After the soul-sharing event, it isn't surprising that the bond between them is very strong. There is even a snippet on how one prefers partners from her own species, not like another dragon-loving character we know. But it doesn't take her off the hook of weird relationships. Remember that part about incest? Yeah, it's more of a twincest here. Even though one shoots down brother one's questions about how she deals with her sexual desires.
remember what you told me earlier today? About how intoners are charged up sexually? Is that true?
Yes.
Is it true for you?
Yes.
So do you need me to?
No.
In his novella, Brother One talks about their nights together. How she was distraught by what they were doing together but did it anyway. It plays with the theme of loneliness that plagues his sister. She was yearning for love, and even though she knew that sleeping with someone who is basically your own child is wrong, she did it anyway. What makes it so distasteful is the innocence that Brother One exhibits. One was the only person he has interacted with. No one else, besides Gabriella, knew about his existence. By creating him, One made sure she would have someone who would always forgive her, always love her. Just like her sisters, she too found someone who bent to her will. Is she as despicable as 5 by forcing her will into another? Probably. even though in her case her victim acts like he enjoyed it. The fallout happens when suddenly he has to make his own decisions about what to do after one's death.
Zero is dead. 1. Do you hear me? I finished off the intoners, just like you said. But what should I do now? How am I supposed to live in a world that lacks the intoner's protection? 1.
She hasn't found this reason for their existence, and up until that point, she was the one calling the shots. So he runs away, hides in a tower where no one can find him. Suddenly a revelation comes that one wanted him to die just after her, so he wouldn't be alone. And he has lost his sword, so he cannot kill himself. Well, tough luck. He decides he wants to feel closer to his sister, changes into her clothes, and suddenly when he looks into the mirror, he sees not himself, but One, his sister. And this causes his mind to break a little. During his life, One made sure that brother would always remember they're one and the same. She governed his world. It sounds a little bit like a parenting style called authoritarian. Parents tell their children what to do, what to think, instead of teaching them how to think. Just like a god, instead of letting him make his own decisions, her will was obligatory. To put it into perspective, there are 4 parenting styles proposed by psychology: permissive, authoritative, authoritarian, and uninvolved. Here is a nice graph to show the difference. As you can see, One is both stern and demanding.
1. Please. I don't want to do this. I'm scared.
She's almost careful with showing emotions towards Brother One. She gives him answers, but gets frustrated when he asks about something she doesn't have an answer to. She wants him to listen to her, to follow her even to the grave. And once she tells him something, the truth she believes in, she doesn't like him questioning that. He must be informed about the world as far as it helps him with killing Zero, which was the purpose of his creation. And there are consequences of this kind of upbringing. Kids from authoritarian families are less socially adept and less resourceful. They can also be less self-reliant and have problems with critical thinking. After years of having to rely on an all-knowing parent, it is hard to start relying on yourself. Mind you, I said hard, not impossible. Even when Brother One hesitates what to do since there is no one to tell him what he is supposed to do, he finds his calling. And go figure, starts church worshipping his sister who watched over him. With One dead and Brother One off to change the world, we are close to the end of this video. I would just like to mention a similarity of this pair of twins to another pair from Yakartaroverse. I got that familiar feeling whenever I was watching Brother One interact with his sister. As you probably have guessed, I'm thinking about Adam and Eve from Nier Automata. Both Adam and One share this air of nobility. Both of them look for answers for the reason of being alive. They come to very different conclusions, as One's peace and Adam's conflict do not compare. And their siblings are also a lot alike. Both were birthed by the Elder from their rib. Both only want to stay with their siblings, and both seem to fall apart after the Elder One is gone. The tattoo Eve has, the one representing the Order of the Watchers, was created by Brother One when he pressed his face against a mirror and thought that he and One were finally melting together. So maybe this is why Eve bears this symbol. to show how the tragic fate of twins gets repeated, even though so many years have passed. We know that Adam and Eve get their happy ending of sorts, with them reuniting after being defeated by 2B and 9S. Unfortunately, One and Brother One do not get this privilege. I will end this video on this positive note. I would like to thank Xonos Media for helping me so much. Link to his channel you can find down below. Please check it out. Alright, be sure to subscribe, like and comment. See you in the next video. Cheers!